whatever we want, we get.
Well, that's what did it.
That's what that's what got Diddy where he is right now. But okay, but okay, that way of thinking.
Terrence is becoming a frequent. He's on his media tour. I don't know if he has a book coming out or a movie, or is he just promoting his science or his patents out here? I don't know, but he's out here giving a lot of interviews, and this is what he had to say in an interview on Club Random Podcast. Fair use.
So funny. My friend said to me, rappers, they're all so tough until you hear their real name.
Yeah, well, until you see them at a puffy party.
Oh.
Then they're not tough no more. I'm surprised that the rap game is still alive because the masculinity that the rappers are supposed to portray.
What is it? What is it with all the man-on-man action that I'm learning about? I mean, like with the puffy parties, like the last thing I ever thought that went on there was gay stuff. Not that gay stuff is wrong, it's wonderful. I just did not think that's what Puffy was doing.
Yeah, well, I didn't think it either. And even when my assistant said that stuff, I still was like joking it off. And it wasn't until later on that I heard other things from people that worked from him. You remember that back in the times of slavery, they had a thing called breaking the buck, where they would take, not to go in a bad place, but this is how I see what's happening, the parallels with what's happening, correlates what's happening in the business. If they, back in the times of slavery, if they had like some 12-year-old slave that was just full of himself and confident and, wasn't listening, they would tie him to a log or a barrel.
Crazy. He's gonna continue to talk more about this, but what he's gonna talk about is what is happening. Well, he's gonna be more in detail what happened in the background and how he feels about Hollywood. We're gonna talk about this a little bit more today. We covered him in the past as well. I mean, it turned into a quite interesting conversation. RJ.
Terrence Howard is a genius, according to some, misguided, according to others, and cuckoo, according to people who don't understand what he's saying. One thing I like about Terrence Howard is his demeanor. He has a cool and calm demeanor, so he does come over convincing. You know how they say, KaiR, that people who have the need to shout or yell out loud, usually they're insecure, and that's why they're shouting to cover up their insecurity. So I believe it's something to the extent. This is like the other way around. It does give a sense of self-control, self-confidence, and that's why he can talk in a low volume but still make his point across. And of course, guys, remember to rate the show by pressing the like button, follow us on our socials, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification icon as well. But KaiR, one thing that I've seen in the at least I've experienced growing up listening to urban music, more specifically rap, hip-hop, R&B, and it was always this macho culture, right? We're tough, we're tough, we don't back down, we get whatever we want, we get.
Well, that's what did it.
That's what got Diddy where he is right now. But okay, that way of thinking. But in any case, you listen to songs that these are gym songs nowadays. They were gym songs back then because they hype you up. Yep. It's like, hey, nah, man, I don't do that, man. Okay, the urban black hip-hop rap community was also originally, and still is, I would argue, but in the 90s, you're 100% straight. That's what you are. You don't play like that. That's what the culture, that's what the message that was projected.
That's what the message that the record labels will project in the song.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm talking as a consumer.
Oh, like that. Yeah, I understand. Okay. But
it's when you grow up and then you start watching like series like The Wire, start watching documentaries. You're like, okay, going to prison is manly. And then you hear like in prison, they get down with one another.
Yeah, that was crazy. First time I heard that. I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna go to jail.
But KaiR, as long as you're not the one receiving, you're the man.
Oh, no. That's even crazy. That's crazy. Oh man, so, what the heck?
But there was always this, but it was something, it was like clearly homo, but you weren't allowed to call it homo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was a homo act, but you weren't allowed to call it homo. So it was like a duality of concepts that basically it never really clicked. Why? How was it possible that in the free world
You
I
thought-
would listen to music
Yeah.
of people who were gangsters, they were hustlers, they were all sorts of things, and F hetero 100% straight. But when you hear about, and usually these people weren't who they were projected to be as either, because they were
Hindsight
like
is 2020. Hindsight is
personas.
2020.
But if you
Hindsight
look
is
at the
2020.
people they were talking about, how they live in the penitentiary, they were getting it on with one another.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
And now that you're older, you're like, but in the free world, they were doing the same thing.
It's
apparently.
They say the school to prison pipeline. It was the hip hop to prison to Diddy pipeline.
There was some pipe there. I do believe that. And some lines. so
Oh man, no, but that's the crazy part about this whole thing. And I'm gonna continue playing the video so we can see what he had to say, because he had a couple of things to say about this situation.
All right.
Fair use.
And a bunch of the overseers would rape him. To where when he walked around with the slaves now, he didn't have the confidence.
Sure.
His whole, he was broken. And it was called breaking the buck.
Wow.
And that's still taking place. And so to hear that people in the industry are still making young rappers who have fought the worst of circumstances, being disenfranchised, being discounted, and then they finally like, I'm gonna put it into the music. I'm gonna do it in the music, and I'm gonna and get myself together. And they go and see someone, and they tell them, okay, yeah, you can have a deal. Perform fellatio on me, and you get your deal. That was what I heard while I was on Empire about some of the people in the business. And Petey Pablo, you remember Petey Pablo?
I know who that is.
Petey Pablo, talented writer, singer. Him and Young Buck wrote a song called Ho Is On. And in that song, back in about 2011 or 29 or something, because he called out all of the homosexuality taking place at those parties and those people, he was kicked out of the music business. No radio station would play his stuff. So you look for Petey Pablo, he's not around anymore. But that song, Ho It's On, they did not care. They went all in on it.
Crazy. And Petey Pablo, I remember Petey Pablo from back in the days. He had a banger called Freaka League. He had goodies with Sierra. I mean, he had a couple of bangers, and I didn't know why. So sometimes the thing with music is sometimes you lose certain artists out of sight. You're like, what happened to him? And then you hear stories like this. He got sabotaged. Crazy.
I think that you have to keep into account that, at least keep in mind, that people will tell you how to live your life, but then turn around and live a completely different life. And if it wasn't for podcasting, if we didn't witness with our own eyes and ears how Diddy told Fabulous that he likes it when he's scrabbling and scraping or something for...
That's it. Those are the exact words. Those are the exact words. I think a lot of people were
Daddy
shocked and
calling him daddy. If we didn't, I mean, think about it.
if he would have told that story, people would tell he's lying. This man is cloud chasing.
Because if he would only judge Sean Diddy Combs, Sean Love Combs, Sean Puffy Combs by his image, the image he created, so not Sean Combs, but his image as Puff Daddy, as P. Diddy, as Brother Love, you would not believe that he was engaging in sexual activities with men. If it wasn't for 50 Cent,
Allegedly, by the way, guys.
if it wasn't for 50 Cent going on the Breakfast Club and saying that Diddy wanted to take him shopping, we don't know if the story is true, is what KaiR is saying. I'm just saying. But if 50 didn't say that, we wouldn't even think that it would be possible in the realm of possibility. Calling Fabulous daddy, and everyone's sitting at the table looking awkward as ish. Like,
And they're looking at their boss, so they're not gonna say anything.
bro, there are cameras around, man.
My
We
man.
usually do this when there aren't cameras.
That's what you get when people are drunk, right? They say the
If it
truth gets
wasn't-
revealed.
If it wasn't for a video, French Montana eating breakfast shirtless at Diddy's house.
I think there was a hotel, but whatever it was.
It was a big ass hotel.
I think it was in Las Vegas, by the way. But I think they were talking about it at the former presenter who's now living in England, or ran Ellen. They were describing that scene during her show. But
Well,
crazy. What can you learn from that? When men are offering to buy you clothes, thank them. Because those clothes come with strings. Those strings are not the right strings. not the type of right strings you want to have on clothes. No, but this is crazy.
Respectfully
If yeah, you gotta respectfully decline. I think 50 revealing that story made Diddy look crazy back then.
but still, KR, when you hear the first story, just like the TD Jakes, we covered TD Jakes last Monday, so past Monday.
Yeah.
Episode 259. And Cat Williams. So there were rumors in the past that TD Jakes, pastor Bishop TD Jakes, was involved in certain.
He was at Diddy parties. That's what was being said. They're not explicitly freak offs, but at Diddy parties.
And Cat Williams mentioned it explicitly as such. So, but still, it's not like real, you know.
So
It seems like it's so. That's so. What I want to say is sometimes you hear the stories. You also hear stories about Diddy being involved with the Biggie and Tupac situation. I remember hearing these rumors.
You mean you're talking
Rumors.
about the deletion situation.
The deletion, yeah.
No, not freak off situations.
I
Back then it
didn't hear
wasn't.
that, no.
Back then it wasn't the freak off yet.
No, it was just a Friday night out.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the deletion of the two. But these were all. I mean, you
Rumors.
hear it, but what does it mean? Until in 2024, 2023, 2024.
2022 it started, I think.
No. When did the dude? What's his name?
Keefe.
Keefe, yeah.
I think he started talking in 2022.
No, but he mentioned Diddy, I believe in
Oh,
24,
really?
right?
No, before
Okay,
that.
so
I
we're talking
think.
about 3 years ago that he started mentioning it, and now
multiple
he's-
times.
multiple
in
times,
books.
and now he's been detained, and now you're like, oh, but maybe it is true. So what I want to say is, in between the moment you hear of a rumor and the moment it turns out to be, I'm not even going to say true, but highly likely, it's not like from one day to the other. It takes time.
Takes time. How do they say the truth will always reveal itself? Something like that. The truth shall overcome, or whatever. Guys, let us know in the comments what you think.